A piece of crumb just fell on my keyboard. I hate that. I got it. All right, folks, we are live. My name is Kurt Von Annen. I'm here with Magic Emily Middleton. We're here for the next hour or so. We see some people are starting to come into the live, which is great. This is kind of like, it's an open, safe space. So you can come in here, you can ask any questions about LifterLMS or sometimes anything in general. And we'll do our best to screen share, walk you through things, problem solve, talk about new features, all those things. But here's the secret to it. You're going to want to jump in and you're going to want to ask your questions in the chat. So if you're new, if you're a first-time viewer, listener, you can go to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, any of those things. You'll find us here live, and you can put your questions into comments. The other thing, as a measure of housekeeping, I want to get done real quickly is we do have a 55% off coupon at lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. And if we inspire you that you say, hey, I just want to get this thing, or there's something I want to buy, LifterLMS has a great, robust free core plugin. But if you decide you want to buy something, then you can get the 55% off coupon by using the AMA-gift link. All right. After that, let's see. We've got comments here. Who's here? Mark Brewer's with us. Mark says, Mark from Virginia. And if I remember correctly, Mark, I think we had a couple of good exchanges in support as well, talking about your use case. So hope things are off and started well for you. Obviously, if you have any questions or anything about setup, go ahead, jump in here and let us know, and we'll try and jump in on that for you. What's going on for you this week, Emily?
Let's see. I was working on LTI stuff, connecting LifterLMS to the Learning Tools Interoperability Standard stuff. That's for companies like Moodle, Canvas, and Brightspace, a bunch of them that are like used by official education institutions primarily as their LMS, and they consider something like LifterLMS to be a tool. And so integrating like LifterLMS with its learning content, quizzing content, grading content, whatever you might include within it as a tool to complement their LMS. That's primarily what I've been working on this week.
Nice. I've had a few things going on. I got some personal projects I'm working on, and it's always fun because what is notorious for someone running an agency is to forget, abuse, or abandon any of your own projects. And so being able to get in and refresh some content or try some new tools, really been enjoying that. I've been doing stuff with bricks and ACSS and frames and playing with some things, and just really getting myself more up to speed on developing at a higher level. We also just released, there's two sides of my agency. One is like, we very much want to cater to startups and helping new people get started with new things. And then we have the complete opposite side of the spectrum, where we deal with a lot of enterprise clients and moving their SCORM content from a purpose-built SCORM site to a LifterLMS, WordPress-based site. So we have these two very different markets. But in our first market, where we do the commoditized, productized services, we just released a food truck template, and that's getting some play here locally. So it's fun to see things work. It sounds simple, nice. But for people that like, let's say that you're really good at making tortillas, right? What do you know about making websites? Nothing. And so for them, it works out. That it's for a super moderate fee. They get a site that, hey, here's a shopping cart. I'll change my pictures, my words. The shopping cart works. It can take credit cards and it tells people where the truck is parked. Because we have a really good food truck community here in Kansas, believe it or not.
That's dope.
Right. It's fun. I got the inspiration working with a remodeling company. At the house we rented, a remodeling company came in, and they just two young dudes, doing some remodel stuff for property management. And I said, "Oh, where's your site?" "Oh, we're trying to do stuff on Facebook." Well, that wasn't working out. They have no ownership. They have no say in anything. They can't control the flow of content or anything like that. And so I said, "You guys should just have a website." "Oh, we can't afford it." And then it came with we've talked to people. Everybody wants 5 grand, 7 grand, 8 grand, 9 grand. And I thought, I'll just make a sample for independent contractors for, what do they call those? You know what I'm saying?
The starter sites?
Yeah, but so we made at Mañana Nomás, our first productized site was for contractors and remodeling companies. And it was basically a simple site where people could prepay for appointments, to get estimates, and to sell jobs. Simple, right? And then obviously a homepage, and about us page, and a contact us page. And it was amazing. They were like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is exactly what we wanted, but we didn't want to pay 7 grand for it." And I'm like, "Well, it's a product for me now. So you can pay this much and this much a month to host it. And it's cheaper than Squarespace, and you're good to go." And then we manage it and do all the maintenance on the back end, so that they can focus on redoing your bathroom instead of worrying about their website. It's cool.
Nice.
It works from simple to simpler. So Mark is in here. I think Mark put in a question. Let me get down here. It says using groups. So let's throw Mark up on screen. Using the groups add-on, what is the process in our case when a group of students is invited to group? Do they create an account from the invite link? I would think an account is essential to track the student's progress. Mark, you're dead on. So when you send that invite link, you're either going to send an invitation email, or you're going to give them the invite link. And when they arrive, they're going to put in, their name and their email address and fill out the form. But it's going to, when they submit, it's going to enter them directly into that pre-assigned course or membership that you've assigned to the group. And so, yeah, they do need to have an account. And so that account gets created. They get added to that group. And then the group manager or the group administrator is able to use that group page to track, progress and access and grades and things like that right from the front end, rather than having to bother you for like a weekly report out of the back end. Anything to add there, Emily?
No, that about covers it all. You use the groups link, and then on the My Account page, they should be allowed to register, and then that registration information is what creates their account.
Yeah. And it works really, really well. Groups now can do e-commerce as well. So it used to just be like a manual process, but now it's more automated, which is really great for people that are in the course creation space. Phil's got a question. So we got a question from Phil. And it says, how do I get my buy now buttons to display on each course page? I'm using authorized.net as the payment gateway. I just now transferred my courses from my staging site to the live site and cannot currently accept payments. So if this is a simple fix and you can reply sooner, that would be awesome. Thank you. I worry about two things with this question. If you use authorized.net, authorized.net has the ability to create buy now buttons in their platform, and then people embed those buy now buttons all over their website to sell an ebook, to sell a coffee mug, to sell, access to a mastermind get together or something like that. But LifterLMS also has an authorized.net integration so that you would use the access plan to sell your course or your membership, and that access plan are the buttons that we typically talk about, where we have access plan purchase tables on each course page or on membership pages. Now, it's important to stress, if you're the administrator and you're looking at the front end of the website, you're not going to see those access plan tables typically. Only visitors would see those, right? And students aren't going to see the access plan buttons because they're already registered, right? So your LifterLMS website is dynamic in every sense of the term in that instance. So there's some things that if you're looking at it from the administrator's sign-on account, you might not see. That's why it's really important to review your website in an incognito tab or use the view as selector at the top of the admin bar. But Emily, I'm curious with this question, and I think not just for Phil, but for other listeners and viewers that are signing in, maybe it would be good to do a screen share and just show people real quickly, here's the access plans, and if the access plan is filled out properly, how to get that table to show up. Maybe they don't have that block on their course page.
Yeah. So like Kurt said, there's a few different things that could be going on. In my experience, I see one of three things. Here we go. So we can see my screen. The first one is that the payment gateway isn't completely configured correctly. So if we go to the LifterLMS settings, we go to checkout for authorized.net. We're going to be looking at the checkout tab up here at the top. Authorized.net will be available. And make sure that's going to be enabled. And then add your API credentials. Make sure that's all there and it's not in test mode or anything like that. So if this is configured properly, the second thing is that the Buy Now button might be missing from the course page directly. So inside of each course and inside of each membership, got my course options taking up a lot of space here. Why these meta boxes are taking up a lot of space. But inside of our course, if I scroll down, we should have a block on our page called, let's see if we can pull it up, LifterLMS pricing table. You want to make sure your LifterLMS pricing table is present on your course. If you're using Elementor, Bricks, Beaver Builder, Divi, or something like that, you want to make sure that you have a pricing table inserted within your editor. There are shortcodes that you can use for these blocks. If you're using a page builder, if you're working with like Bricks, if you're working with Elementor, LifterLMS also natively adds some blocks to that page, so you can use the pricing block directly within Elementor, for example. But you can also use a shortcode, so make sure that this is on your page in the block editor or in whatever editor that you're using. So the payment gateway might not be set up completely properly. The Buy Now button does need to be added into your course. And then I was trying to think, there was a third one. I don't remember what it was, but making sure that your pricing page is configured properly, your permalinks and everything. I don't know if this person sent like a picture with what their question was, but
No. And like I said, my fear is that they might be using that Buy Now button embed option from authorized.net, which of course would take the access plan and the automation completely out of the picture. So that is really not a great way to go. But I know that some people have done that in the past, trying to get around buying a LifterLMS, payment gateway. Like if you're using the free version and you're trying to figure out how to take in money and use the manual payment gateway, you're creating yourself a little bit of a nightmare that way. But just want to let you know that that's out there.
Yeah. But yeah, you can drop a ticket to our team, give us like a quick video of what you're seeing on the back end or temporary admin credentials, and we can log in and take a look at to figure out what's going on pretty quick.
Yeah. And in some cases, it's just really a matter that you're using the wrong, dynamic user account to look at the content. Sometimes you'll see something in the edit course or edit membership page, and then you look at the front end of the website and it's not there or it looks different. That can be a permalink issue, or you're just on the wrong account, the wrong role. So different roles will see things differently on the front end of the website. All right. Mark apparently is happy. He's sent us a lot of positive things. And let's see what we've got here. Would it be more optimal? This is a good one, right? Would it be more optimal to use memberships and payments in Lifter? Reason being, we also sell printed workbooks that ship on site as well using Woo. Would it be problematic to run Woo for workbooks and have the native LifterLMS setup run the membership sales? I'm not going to say it sounds problematic, but here's what happens for people as things scale, as things build. And let's be more specific. Mark earlier had asked about groups and using groups. And so groups has an e-commerce module that works with the native LifterLMS payment gateway. If you are using WooCommerce, then you're kind of in a different pattern. That means that you would have to manually figure out how you're going to bill or invoice people for a group purchase, and then manually assign their group and the number of seats and all those kinds of things. The way it used to work, for years before we came out with the e-commerce add-on for it this last year. So the question is, can you use WooCommerce to sell your workbooks and sell your coffee mugs and do those maybe individual course sales and things like that, and still have an activation to sell memberships using the payment gateway and LifterLMS? And here's where that really doesn't come true. If you have WooCommerce integrated into your website, each of those access plans is going to ask for the corresponding WooCommerce product that you're selling. Right? So it's not like you're running two sites unless you're running a subdomain for memberships or something. I can't think of another way around that. What are you thinking, Emily?
Yeah, I recommend going with Woo if you are in a case where you're willing to handle WooCommerce, you're willing to handle the subscriptions, you're willing to pick up that extra add-on. I do like WooCommerce. I do see like upsell plugin as a good intermediary between the LifterLMS e-commerce system and WooCommerce. If you're looking for something that's not as wild and robust and add-on intensive as WooCommerce, but you're looking to go above and beyond what LifterLMS checkout can do, upsell plugin's a really good one for that. It integrates directly with LifterLMS. And the nice thing is that you can create like little products and stuff through that directly. When it comes to things like dynamic taxes and shipping and things like that, I really think WooCommerce is a shoe-in to go for, because then you have the ability to select your shipping zones, your tax classifications per product, and all this stuff. So you can get more detailed with WooCommerce, but depending on the level of detail, like Kurt said, that you're looking for, that's what to think about.
Yeah. I've almost seen it where people will run the LMS as a subdomain and then run their WooCommerce store on the main marketing site. And that just gives the customer two different purchase experiences. But it works, right? So you could run your LMS at like, learning.abc.com and then run your WooCommerce store and all of your other marketing stuff on abc.com. You can completely do that. You just have to think about your user journey and how it would affect your business overall for that use case. But can you track stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Because you would still have, payment gateways and payment structures that would be tracking purchases and using order numbers and all of those things. It's just you're tracking two different systems rather than a singular system. So let's move Mark on to his next question, and that is, we've been testing some things with Elementor and the theme builder for a custom course and lesson template using the Lifter plugin. Other than the 6 drag and drop modules in Elementor, can we also just use the short code? And I feel like we're repeating ourselves here, but I just want as confirmation. And by the way, we have an integration with Bricks now too. Bricks is the same way. You can drag and drop those blocks over, or you can go to our short code listing in the LifterLMS website and you can add whatever short code you want. And your page builder should be able to embed that content for you. Now, the design wise, sometimes you end up getting into like custom CSS and stuff for things that you really want to change in those environments, because you're dragging over dynamic content that is absorbing or using kind of the cues from your theme for display purposes. So sometimes you end up embellishing or augmenting code with custom CSS to get what you really want out of that. But the best first start is to drop that short code in place and see what you get. Let's see. All right. Looking. We covered Mark. There was another question up here. I got to find it. Oh, Manuel is with us. Manuel says, hi again. Hi, Manuel. I saw Manuel is in Brazil, right? Is he in Brazil?
I think so.
I think it's in Brazil. I like that people are from all over the place. Hi, again, I saw at the Academy demo that each course has a custom sidebar. Is that possible to achieve with the free version? I think we'll do probably a quick screen share on this. It's probably going to be in SkyPilot if I can guess Emily's keyboard from all the way across the country. But yeah, so sidebars aren't really anything regulated by LifterLMS. There are some themes where you need to activate sidebars or kind of play with things to get sidebars to work. But if you're working in Cadence or Astra or SkyPilot or the Elementor Hello theme, Bricks, I mean, I guess I could just go on and on. Sidebars are out of the box, ready to go. And if you have an issue with sidebars, you can do a search for sidebars on the LifterLMS website, and you'll see we do have some content about how to activate sidebars if you have a non-compliant sidebar theme. Yeah, you can do whatever you want with the sidebars, and I think if I remember correctly, I think Manuel is in SkyPilot, so this might be a good screen share.
Yeah, so if you're in SkyPilot, this is going to be much easier. Except if we jump in, this is what a sidebar looks like on our LifterLMS Academy. And so we have like our featured image, we have our syllabus, and that's all embedded. There's a few different ways to do this. In LifterLMS SkyPilot, which is what I'm using on my site here, let's take a look at what we have for a sidebar right now and then how to edit this. So if I view one of my courses, here we go. It looks relatively similar to the Academy because I'm on the demo site. But when we edit our site, we're going to be using the template system. Because we're in LifterLMS SkyPilot, we're using a technology called full site editing. And this is what lets us use the block editor across the entire website. Themes like Cadence and themes like Astra don't currently do this out of the box. You can activate full site editing on those themes, but it's a little bit tricky. But in SkyPilot, it's just out of the box the way that it is. And so when it comes to editing our course page, if I go into my templates and then I find all templates, I'm going to be looking for the one that's applied to my course. And if I ever want to know what templates apply to any given page, I'll simply edit that post type. For example, edit the course here. And then on the backend editor, we can see what template is currently being applied to it. So it's going to be on the right-hand side down here. It says template single course. So that's the name of the template here. So let's try to find single course in my template lists. We have checkout page order confirmation, home, coming soon, product catalog, product by tag. Let's go to page 2. Single course, there it is. So if I edit single course here, we can see what this is made of. And we can also create a new template and apply that template to any given course. So this is what we're looking at from a template perspective, and then how it looks from a front end perspective. So there we go. It kind of looks similar, but on the back end, it's a little bit more of an editing experience. I'm not sure what block this is. Just this unsupported block. This is the progress block, though. So we have the progress block and the syllabus block on top of each other. That's where, if I were to view it as a student, I should see the progress bar right there. So we have the progress block and the syllabus block. But if you wanted to apply a custom template to a specific course, you could do it by copying. I'm just going to copy all my blocks, the header, the footer, and everything in between. I'm going to click Command-C. It's going to copy it to my keyboard. I'm going to back out of my editor go to all templates. And then I should be able to add a template up here at the top. And then for this, we're going to do a custom template. Oh gosh, it keeps scrolling me out. Scroll down. It's going to populate a lot. Custom template. So this is going to be custom course. Create this. It'll launch us into a totally blank template. Nothing here. It can ask us to choose a pattern, but I'm just going to simply paste what I copied. I have a copy of everything, and let's say Emily's course template does not include a title. It does not include a featured image. I can customize this any way I want to, save it, and then I can go apply it to the Quick Start course. So if I go to my Quick Start course area, let me reload the editor because I just created a template after I edited this course. So let's reload and then change the template from single course, change template, and then we're going to swap it over to Emily's custom course template, the one I just created. Save that, and then reload the front end, and we should lose the title and we should lose the featured image because those were not a part of my template. Now, of course, you can make more dramatic styling changes than this, but that's just conceptually how you would create your own template that's different from the regular one and change it out on a course basis. That's that.
Yeah, Manuel came back and said, "Hey, I'm on Astra," and so I put a
Oh my
comment
gosh.
in that Astra's, you make changes to that kind of layout in the customizer. If it was going to be like site wide, but then if you wanted to build templates for one course, then you would have to build a template, then assign that template.
Yeah, and so in Astra, having a content show per sidebar is a little more complicated. Um, yeah, that's something where like you could either hide the sidebar completely, like Kurt said, sidebars are just conceptually 25% or 30% of your page on the right or left hand side. You could just hide sidebars from the Astra menu and then custom add a sidebar via columns on your course page if you wanted to. Customize it on a per course basis.
Yeah. Now here's one that comes up, and I'm going to throw it in here because I think it's worth discussing on the call. It might sound technical. It's not overly technical. I've been experiencing an issue when trying to click the builder from the course list in WP admin. It just loads a blank white page. I flush the permalinks and then try it again, and it works. It could be a caching issue. I just don't know if it was a permalink issue. So typically you just flush your permalinks, and I typically do it twice. I don't know why I'm so paranoid, but I'll make sure I have the right permalink option selected, and I'll save, and then I'll save it again. And typically you're done, right? On most hosts, most hosting, most setups, you're done. Where I see this kind of thing being an issue sometimes is, so whenever you are expecting to see something, you got a bird in your backyard?
Yeah, there's a lot of birds out here.
It's pretty awesome. So anyway, whenever I'm expecting to see something on the front end of my website that I don't see, or when I'm expecting to edit something that I don't get access to edit, but I can clear the cache or flush a permalink and voila, it works, then yeah, I typically look at caching. And when I'm doing this for clients, what'll happen is I'll go into their plugins listing, and I will invariably see 2, 3, 4 different tools in there where maybe the client didn't recognize that it was a caching tool, but anything that says performance or optimization or caching is typically using cache to gain whatever that performance item is. And so if you have a conflict of that, plus remember, your host probably has caching on the server side, right? To reduce the amount of server resources that they're allocating per folder on their server. And so you've got a host with caching, and hopefully it's a WordPress managed host that is able to make changes to your caching so that it doesn't interfere with your website, because you have a dynamic website. Caching and dynamic websites is not a great mix. You want to reduce your caching as much as possible. And so if I go into the plugins listing and someone's got, a security and performance plugin, an image optimization plugin, WP Rocket, Breeze, and something else all activated on the same site, the first thing I do is start deactivating some of those cache and performance plugins, and then flushing the cache on the site, and then retesting. And in a lot of cases, whatever that issue is rectifies itself. Sometimes, depending on your host, like if you're on an aggressive host, like gosh, if you were on Bluehost, or if you were on DreamHost, or if you were on, I think, Hostinger, if you were on, some of those have aggressive caching for performance, but even ones that you assume because the price is higher that they don't have aggressive caching, they do. WP Engine, Kinsta, they all have pretty aggressive server-side caching. So sometimes you have to make a call or submit a support ticket to ask them to reduce caching on LifterLMS created pages. You have any further thoughts on that, Emily? I know you used to help a lot of people with that before.
Yeah, yeah, that's always like a rabbit hole of exactly what's causing that. I know, like, I host on Hostinger, and I have some clients who are on Hostinger, and caching is pretty heavy there, so I have to intentionally turn down the caching from the hosting level first. So I would look at that first, and then look at, like what Kurt said, where you're not adding too many plugins that will install caching mechanisms. But yeah, I always start with the web host and make sure they're not doing anything that is too cache intensive. If you can, you're on a Bluehost, Hostinger, SiteGround, you're going to run into those issues by default.
And there's so many things that are like server dependent. So a lot of times I will see a support request or a comment, or I'll be in a WordPress meetup or something like that, and someone will be, oh, I'm having a problem with BuddyBoss, or I'm having a problem with Lifter, or I'm having a problem with WooCommerce, I'm having a problem with, all these fairly sizable platforms that are dynamic in nature. And then, no, it really comes down to, the hosting or the caching. There's another thing that comes up, and that will be like how quickly someone gets a confirmation notification that they've enrolled for a course, or how quickly someone gets the receipt from a purchase. And what a lot of people don't recognize is they assume the website automatically sends out this messaging, right? But you have like an engagement and notification process in whatever that platform is. And that platform is meant to say, like, someone makes a purchase, here's your notification. You do this, here's this. But there's a thing in the back end of your website called cron, C-R-O-N, and WordPress cron is notoriously feeble. So in a lot of cases, we end up having to create an external cron job for people connecting that. And then it's basically like an external server that processes the messaging more quickly. But these are just some of those things that pop up, that come up through experience. So external cron jobs, that's an important one. Understanding your host's caching policies, that's another one. And these are instances whereas, if you're a course creator and you're full of great information and you just want to write courses and share with people, but you don't want to be a webmaster and you don't want to know the details of all these things, that's where access to the experts page at LifterLMS really comes in handy, because we have a whole list, not just me and Emily, but we have a whole list of people that are vetted experts that know how to use WordPress and LifterLMS to help you find success with your project. And so a lot of these questions that come up with permalinks and caching and all those things, typically, if you've been doing this for 8 years, 10 years, in my case, 20 years, you're kind of used to it. In second nature, you go, oh yeah, turn this off, turn that on, set up this thing, connect this thing. And it's part of your workflow. It's your process. But for people that are coming in cold, they're typically going to experience these things one at a time and at different levels because of the different choices. The freedom that WordPress offers is you can host your website wherever, right? But when you make that decision, there's going to be certain side effects that can or can't happen, and we just need to know what the workarounds are for them.
Yeah.
I really went down that rabbit hole, didn't I?
No, yeah, that makes sense. I did a whole video for WP Fusion on cron yesterday about why, if you're doing emails out of the back end of your website, this is going to be important for you.
Nice. And then, yep. Yeah, the view as a student, you and I have already answered that. That view as a student feature comes with all LifterLMS installations. So that's there. Mark's got another one. He says, using Vimeo Pro. Well, congratulations, because that's a great video host. But it says, is there anything we need to set on the video side to complement the Lifter settings? One, you need to have Vimeo Pro if you're going to be using advanced videos. So if you're using advanced videos, you need Vimeo Pro for that to really take effect. One of the things that I see with a lot of people in Vimeo Pro that ends up becoming a confusion machine is they will mark the video private, but fail to white label their own URL. So then the video will not appear on the website, and they make an assumption that it's their account in Vimeo and it's their website, and it should automatically just play wherever they want to put the link. But when you set your privacy settings to not show things, you need to counter that with, whitelist your own URL, make sure that things are playable. Whatever you set up, whenever you use a third party hosting for anything, for email, for video, for cron jobs, you always want to test that connection afterwards, both as an admin and as a user, to make sure that it works. And I'm a little more paranoid than others. I've learned this from doing a lot of client work. I'm almost embarrassed to say, I think there's like 9 computers in my house. And so I'll fire up another computer, use the Brave browser, use the Arc browser. I'll use some weird extraneous things just to make sure that the website is fully functional, and so that I don't have to get support tickets from my client or from their users. I'm doing a good job today of pointing out like potential problems. I'm going to scare people away from building a website. That's not the goal. It's not as hard as I'm making it sound.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, Manuel, you're very welcome. Thanks, Kurt and Emily. Love the idea of setting up a fake custom sidebar with columns. Good. Seems local. One of our developers didn't have an issue. Nope. It can be. Mark, you put a comment in here. It says seems local. One of our developers overseas didn't have the issue. I'll see that a lot. I was working on a website where the client was in Texas, I'm in Kansas, and we have a developer overseas. And the client was like, I always have to sign in twice. How come I always have to sign in twice? And I couldn't duplicate the issue on my end. My developer couldn't develop the issue on their end. It had to do with, the way that their IP address was being served locally where they were at. So yeah, sometimes things can be very localized. We have dedicated Big Scoots over at Big Scoots. I've heard good things about Big Scoots. Big Scoots is a sponsor of Mark Zemansky's podcast and show.
Yes.
Chris Lasser had a couple of comments. I'm going to go up to his first one, and then he came back with some caching comments. So let's get Chris in here. Chris is a friend of the organization, a friend of the show, friend of the whatever you call it. He's also on the experts page, does a lot with artificial intelligence. It says here, I'd like to request an enhancement to the assignment feature. Currently, when creating assignments, especially ones involving writing and technical tasks or template-based responses, there is no support for structured text formatting such as code blocks, pre-formatted text, rich text. I thought there wasn't there something for code, Emily? There's on the assignments thing, I thought we had a thing that said, if you're looking for a code response, use XYZ, blah, blah, blah.
Structured text formatting. Yeah, so the assignments does have a essay type. I know advanced quizzes, or actually, I don't know. Advanced quizzes has a code question type.
A code response.
I don't know if assignments does. I think it's just essay upload or task list, and I don't think you can put code in that.
Yeah, but if you go to advanced quizzes, you could have a code-based question in advanced quizzes, and then you replace your assignment with a quiz. Let me go over to that. Let me make sure I'm not talking crazy. Let me make sure. Yeah, there's a code response in advanced quizzes. So advanced questions, and let's just do this for people that are kind of new to what we show. I'm going to share my screen real quick and getting started with advanced quizzes. So when you get quizzes from LifterLMS out of the box, you're going to get the choice of multiple choice, picture choice, or true or false. Those are the basic questions. So if you got the free LifterLMS core plugin and you're asking quizzes, you're going to test people, right? And you can grade them and it becomes part of the reporting and all of that, right? Right out of the box, even for free. You can use multiple choice, picture choice, or true and false questions. Invariably, people want to use fill in the blank, short answer, or long answer. Like you want people to give you an essay response, which you can manually grade and then complete their test experience, right? So in advanced questions, and you need advanced quizzes for this, you get fill in the blank, reorder items, reorder pictures, short answer, long answer, file upload. I like the file upload one. I've used that one on a few projects. Code and scale. Now, scale to me is like some people don't know what scale is. Scale is like on a scale of 1 to 10, how was your experience with this course? Like 1 through 10, 10 being the best. On a scale of 1 to 5, on a scale of, so that's what those questions are. And so I'll use those. So people will say, hey, how come you don't have like surveys or evaluations on your page? A lot of times what I'll do is the last lesson in a course will be feedback or evaluation. It'll be an unscored quiz, meaning it's not counting towards their grade. And that's where I ask them, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel about this? On a scale of 1 to 10, how'd you feel about that? How were the images? How was the video? How was the audio? How was the experience? How was this? And then, would you recommend this course to others? Yes or no? And then based on the answer, maybe dynamically tag them and have the CRM send them a response like, hey, get a 10% affiliate commission on anyone you refer to this course. Like there's all kinds of things that you can set up through this process. So in that instance, I realize assignment is what you're thinking, and it might be different. And you're saying, well, I'm not trying to give them a quiz. I'm trying to give them an assignment. But that field is in there for quizzes. And I am not a developer or a coder, so I have never used it. Any thoughts, Emily?
I mean, not specifically. I really wish that the code type in quizzes had like a little sidebar, like on the right-hand side when you're in like Code Academy and you're typing in your code, you can click run and it will show you over in the right-hand side what it's doing. And so I think that would be a really cool feature, but I feel like that would be like a lot of work to build in for the team. And like they'd have to do all the security measures to prevent like people from running malicious code in there. But that would be pretty cool.
Nice. So to follow up with Chris, he's got a couple of things here. Using cache software, do you guys have the exemptions to be added to what pages or scripts should be exempt so cache works better without breaking the site?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You answer.
There's a page on LifterLMS in our documentation about that. Offhand, I think it's the My Account page, anything following My Account page. So that'll be your lost password URL, stuff like that. So the My Account page, the purchase page, and then any page that's designated as a login or registration page. I think those are the recommended ones. You could find caching exclusions in LifterLMS. And then I recommend just not caching a lot of things. Anything that serves dynamic content, anything where it's like the course pages themselves, anything like the lesson pages. I think that mostly the course and lesson pages will be fine, but if you're like directly implementing caching and depending on the severity of that caching, I might recommend choosing an includes list rather than an excludes list. So including only certain lists or certain pages, like your front of sale pages are cached heavily, and then your back of sale pages are just supported by like manual optimizations. That's how I look at it. What about you, Kurt?
I'm in the same ballpark, and especially with certain clients, right? Because Emily, let's just face facts. You and I talk about this stuff all the time, right? It's a dynamic website. With membership controls, we can control anywhere in the website where a member, a certain role or membership might see a block or not see a block, or might see a video, not see a video, or see the video once but not see it a second time, or like all these things. And when we get users and creators that get creative and use these tools, that can affect the way things are displayed to people coming to the site. And so I am really big on paying the extra money for good, powerful hosting and then limiting the cache that is used on it. I would rather pay for server resources than try to save on budget and overuse caching tools, because it creates a poor experience for the user.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's see. I'm confused. I don't know what this is. Do you know what this is? I have the Performance Lab set up on this site.
With LifterLMS Labs, which one would be performance? We have Action Manager, Beaver Builder, Simple Branding, Sidebars. I don't know which one's the
I don't think Performance Lab is with us. I don't know what it is specifically. So, Mark, if you're still with us, maybe throw us a link or let us know what it is that you're asking about, because I want to make sure that we can answer you. It says you mentioned in the advanced videos that is that a separate field to post video URL other than the embed filed in the lesson builder? Yeah, so you can put a video anywhere in your website from Vimeo. You don't have to use the embed video, right? And I'm thinking of, so in my use case, now I'm going to talk outside of LifterLMS just a hair. If I use Presto Player and bunny.net, and then I activate advanced videos and fictitiously connect that integration through Vimeo, I'm actually using Presto Player and bunny.net to serve the videos, and I can put the videos anywhere in my website and still have advanced video player control. I know I made that sound confusing, but I do that to save money. I'd rather be confused. I'd rather be confused and have some dollars in my wallet than not be confused and be broke.
Yeah, I think Presto Player is really nice. And if you're using like WP Fusion in your CRM and Presto Player and bunny.net or whatever, you can do a lot of tracking. You can like email people when they get 10% of the way through your video. You can like show a block on a page when they get 10% through the video. You can like do really weird, complicated things with that setup. That I don't know why anybody would do it, but you know, if you're saying like, I want to use something that's not Vimeo, not Wistia, I want access to those advanced videos features, you can kind of finagle it so that when the video reaches a certain percentage, the buttons appear on the page that are available to move to the assignment and whatnot. So there's some cool things you can do. But yeah, advanced videos from Lifter is pretty simple.
This is interesting. So I will add the stage, Performance Lab. So I looked it up real quick. This is what he was talking about when he said Performance Lab, right? By the WordPress Performance Team. And so when you start going through this, it says Performance Lab plugin is a collection of features, okay? Eventually merged in the WordPress core, plugin facilities. So if you have like a brochure website, just a marketing website, a landing page, and all it's going to do is maybe have people fill out a form and then respond to them with a link and an autoresponder or something. Maybe that's where a performance, page speed and performance on a mediocre host like this all makes sense. But if you start looking at what's going on, right? Embed optimizer, image placeholders, image prioritizer, modern image formats, optimization detective, right? Which seems kind of odd, right? Because it's referring to the embed and to the image that we just talked about. Performant translations, speculative loading. That's where it's only going to load certain things at a time, right? Enhanced responsive images and web worker offloading. Web worker, like when I'm talking about hosting with people, I'll talk about PHP workers, and most hosts won't even tell you. You're like, well, how many PHP workers are assigned to my account? A lot of them won't even tell you, right? So what we're saying here is we're trying to reduce the need for PHP workers within your site. So it says these plugins can be installed separately, blah, blah, blah. All of these in a dynamic website would have me nervous. So if this is activated and you're having that problem with the course builder, I would recommend deactivating this plugin and then retesting your environment and seeing what's going on. And if everything seems fine, then it might be the caching, so a combination of the caching and optimization of your performance plugin and the caching and optimization of your server, right? Because those are going to work supposedly in tandem, but really what they do is they create a little bit of this with your dynamic material. And Mark says, okay, just removed it. well, that's one way to look at it. But anything that says optimization, performance, lazy loading, there are some instances where if you're really on top of your game and you know what that stuff is and what specifically it's doing, great. But in a lot of cases, there are a ton. Out of 65,000 plugins in the repository, there is a huge chunk of them that will advertise optimization or performance or page speed or something like that. And in order for that to happen, it's got to compress your content and cache it. And for it to do that, it puts your dynamic content at risk.
Yeah.
All right. I want to make sure that we have our answers answered on our pre-submitted questions, and that we do. So we're all caught up there. And is there anything that's happened or any questions you've got in the last week that are worth discussing over the next few minutes, Emily?
Questions I've gotten in the last week. A lot of questions I get are related to like websites breaking or really complicated things. What would be worth discussing? I don't know. Like, I mean, abstractly, one of the challenges one of my clients had this week was figuring out like budget size, because they're looking to hire a developer to migrate their 10,000 students over to LifterLMS platform from the LMS they're on, and they're looking for like a bunch of unique features on Lifter and doing some custom development for those features. So they're doing a migration and some custom development, and they're like, okay, how am I going to figure out what price this is going to get me? Or like, what price are we looking at here? The way that they had chosen the price was by just the board, the management team decided a number based on their current monthly, like whatever their quarterly budget was going to be. And then I came in and was asking questions like, okay, how many customers are you losing as a product of the system not working the way that it should now? I had someone give me this advice and be like, yo, you should ask these questions and really figure this out for this client job. And I'm like, yeah, so how many customers are you losing as a product of not having the system? They're like, we don't know. We're not tracking that kind of thing. I'm like, how much money do you expect or estimate that you'll gain as a product of having a new system that can serve your customers in these unique ways? I'm like, we don't really know. So instead of deciding a budget number for something like custom development based on the improvement that it will bring to their product, they just kind of, for lack of a better term, pulled the number out of their butt with what they had available and was like, boom, this is the number we're going to use. And it's like, well, maybe if you think about what kind of improvement this is going to bring to your project, or how many customers you're going to, how many less customers you're going to lose, revenue that's lost right now, and how this is going to improve that or projected to improve that. Looking at factors when you choose a budget for a project will really help set things into perspective and be like, okay, maybe it would make sense to spend more on this custom development, or maybe it doesn't make sense to do this custom development right now because we don't foresee that it is going to bring in more revenue than it's going to cost to do, stuff like that.
The business side of course creation to me is very fascinating, because you and I especially get exposed to a wide swath of interest in the market, right? There's people that just, I got a great idea on how to knit tote bags and I just want to share it with the world. And you're like, okay, so it's like a hobby site and you're just trying to share. That's cool. That's awesome, right? And then there's the other side of the coin where maybe you're doing some internal learning for an organization that makes technical product, right? So they're going to onboard employees and they're going to give courses to get people ready to do a job. And that's, excuse me.
That's
And that's, thank you. And that's a really fun excellent way to go, right? When you think about like intra-company training, that's awesome. But then there's like this totally like off the rails, like I'm going to try and create this $500,000 a year selling courses, learning product. And that's where it gets pretty fascinating, because then you have to do that, what's your return on ad spend, what's your return on investment, what's your return on this. And so when you look at it from a pure business standpoint of investment versus return, you can go down a much different path of discovery. And I've seen a lot of really cool, like I'm going to say I've learned a lot from people beyond the hobby space, right? Like, it's like, oh, so this is how business really is. Like, I always knew, like when I worked at Ducati, the 899 came with a black and white dashboard, and the 1199 came with a color dashboard. And then when I was at the factory, I found out just how little the difference was between a color dashboard and a black and white dashboard. Like in terms of motorcycle parts, it's surprisingly little. So then the instant question is, well, then why doesn't the 899 and the 1199 just come with a color dashboard? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And it made total sense, because they wanted there to be it's just one of the items that was a visible difference between a medium purchase and a premium purchase, right? And it was like the investment they were willing to make based on a scaled spreadsheet of returns. And so it was really interesting, and to see that level of decision making happens at the enterprise level of e-learning is pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
I went a little crazy there.
No. Yeah, there's a lot of angles people. Yeah.
I'm looking at the list, and I think we have done it. I think we have answered just about everything that is on the list, on the pre-list, and we filled 59 minutes of content. So, Emily, if people want to reach you, what's the best way to reach you?
I would look up wpcourseguide.com or look for me on the Lifter Experts list. What about you, Kurt?
If you just want to connect with me, the best way to do that is on LinkedIn. I'm the only Kurt Von Onen on LinkedIn. So once you find me, you've got me, right? I'm not confused with 13,000 John Smiths. So that's easy. And then for business, it's Mañana No Mas. And then at the bottom of the screen there, you're going to see get your 55% off coupon at lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. And folks, that takes care of us for today. We will see you next Thursday for another Ask Us Anything call. Have a wonderful one. Bye-bye.